Hello, everyone. My name is Stuart Tubis, and if you saw me pop up on your screen and you thought, hey, that looks like a really nerdy lawyer, then 10 points to you. You are correct. I'm an attorney and a partner at the law firm Jeffer Mangels, Butler, and Mitchell. I've been practicing ADA law for close to 15 years now. I've handled hundreds of cases for all types of clients, hotels, restaurants, large companies, small mom and pops. And so I've got a lot of experience. We're just going to do a quick um, training here about ADA compliance and service animals in the hotel space. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to share my screen here, see if this works. Okay, great. So, here's the presentation on the ADA. We're going to jump right in. Here's a photo of the ADA being signed into law by George H. Bush in 1990. Um, the basic rule here under the ADA is that it requires businesses to provide full and equal access to goods, services, privileges, and facilities. So this includes policies, practices, procedures, and accommodations. Um, Here in the United States, we have at least 70 million people with disabilities of some sort or another. So the ADA really helps people take a more active and independent role in society. That's the basic goal here is to have everyone be included. Um, yeah, the way that the ADA is enforced is generally through private litigation. So if someone faces discrimination, they can bring a lawsuit in state or sometimes federal court. There are a lot of areas where we see a lot of this litigation, especially here in California. There's a state law that creates a lot of litigation, as well as New York and some other states. Um, there are good reasons for compliance with the ADA above and beyond it just being the right thing to do, which is, the reputational risk that you might face, the attorney's fees, minimum statutory damages. A plaintiff can receive statutory damages, that's money compensation for discrimination. And the court can order injunctive relief. So the court can order the business or the property owner to make changes to comply with the law. So, who's protected under the ADA? Basically, anyone who has a disability or is perceived as having a disability. And a disability here is um, any condition essentially that limits someone's ability to engage in a major life activity like walking or speaking, getting dressed, that sort of thing. So there are a wide range of different types of disabilities. Obviously, we've got the most conspicuous physical disabilities here. Someone in a wheelchair is sort of the classic example. But, there are many different types of disabilities. So there are speech disabilities, cognitive disabilities, people who have problems with hearing, vision, or even mental emotional issues. So, if you're working in the hospitality space, you're interacting with customers, it's important to realize, you can't just refuse service to anyone on any basis. Um, so if someone has a disability, you cannot refuse service just because they have a disability. That would be clear discrimination and it would be the basis for a lawsuit. So the basic idea here is, putting people first. And what does that mean? Um, so what we want to do is essentially address the individual first and their disability second. So, we want to just treat people as we would anyone else, be respectful, be courteous, smile, provide a warm introduction. And if they need help, then, we'll get to that, but you can provide it. It's just not, shouldn't be the primary point for interacting with them. So we want to speak directly to the person. If they have a caregiver, you can of course interact with the caregiver, but we want to try to interact with the person with the disability if they're the customer to the extent possible. Um, you can wait and listen for instructions as needed. So we want to be sensitive about physical contact. This is an area where people complain about sometimes. It's best to not initiate contact unless it's a situation where it's very common and it would not be unusual to do that. If you're meeting someone for the first time in an environment where you'd normally shake their hand, that's generally fine. Um, let's see here. We'll move on to the next one. So, interacting with someone with disabilities takes time. This is a key thing to keep in mind, especially someone who might have a hearing disability or a cognitive disability and can't hear you very well or can't understand you very well, you might need to try different approaches. And so, you might need to speak to them as you would someone else normally at the beginning and switch gears a little bit and try a different approach if that doesn't work. And so there are different ways you can do that. You can always write things down if you need to, if that's a better way to interact with them. But take your time, um, defer to their preferences. If they tell you, that they need you to write it down or they need you to speak slowly or speak more loudly, then generally just try to defer to what they need. Okay, so consider someone's assistive device, a wheelchair or a walker, to be part of their personal space. So don't automatically, push someone if they're in a wheelchair, even if they're having a little trouble. You can certainly offer assistance if it seems like they need it. Feel free to do that, but wait for their response first and respect their answer. If they tell you no, then that's fine. You just go along with what they're needing. Um, do not attempt to lead an individual with a vision impairment without asking first. It may seem like the helpful thing to do, but it's not always what they want or what they need. Um, and so just be mindful of that. If they do want you to help guide them, you can go next to them, put your arm out, and tell them your arm is there, and they can feel free to grab your arm and lead them where you need to. Um, so when talking with someone that has a cognitive impairment, be sure to speak very clearly and slowly if it seems like they need that. Make sure to face them. This is an important issue if you're working at a at a desk or in front of a computer, let's say, checking someone into a hotel. It's much harder if you're looking down, you're not facing them, you're looking at the screen. Just be sure to try to give them as much of a visual cue as possible. So try rephrasing things if it's not understood the first time. You can always repeat the sentence if it seems like they just needed you to speak louder. But if it seems like they're having trouble actually understanding what you are saying, try simplifying the sentence using fewer words and using shorter or more common words. That'll help you be better understood. Um, as noted before, consider using a pen and notepad if that is an option available to you. You might also be able to type on the computer and show them the screen. Um, but don't assume that that will always work. So try something else if it doesn't. Okay, so we'll switch gears now and we'll go and talk about emotional support animals and service animals. So here's our fun picture for that. Believe it or not, miniature horses can actually be service animals. Dogs or miniature horses both work. Miniature horses because they actually live longer and they don't have the same allergy issues as dogs, so they are recognized. Here we go. So what's the difference between a service animal and an emotional support animal? People get these confused and conflated quite a bit, but they're quite different and they're protected differently under the law. So a service animal is any dog or miniature horse that's individually trained to do work or perform tasks for someone with a disability. And so the classic example being a seeing eye guide dog, very well trained animal. It helps someone move around. It's not the same as a pet, and so it shouldn't be treated the same. An emotional support animal is a different category, and that includes all animals that basically provide comfort to someone with a disability, usually a psychological disability. Um, it's not individually trained to perform tasks for them to help with their disability. It's really there to provide comfort. Um, and so it's important to recognize that the ADA protects people with service animals, but not emotional support animals. And we'll get into that a little bit. Um, so for service animals, never touch or distract a service dog without the owner's permission. They are on the job. They're not pets, so they're not the same thing. Um, so public accommodations, which is the term under the ADA for businesses that are covered by the ADA, and this includes all hotels, restaurants, essentially any business that you'd walk into that's open to the public. Um, Public accommodations like that, those businesses must allow use of service animals. So service animals are specifically protected by the ADA. Emotional support animals, however, are not covered by the ADA. So a hotel could, if it chooses, decline to allow someone access with an emotional support animal. Businesses may only ask two questions regarding service animals. This is to avoid a sort of discriminatory type of interrogation. So these are the two questions that you can ask about someone with a service animal. Is the animal required because of a disability? That's the first one. And what work or task has the animal been trained to perform? That's the second one. Feel free to take a screenshot of this if you'd like, or write it down. But these are the two questions. So don't ask someone, what's their disability? Show me your proof, anything like that. Yeah, interestingly, we'll get into this a bit later, but someone does not need to have any special vest or certificate for a service animal. Those things are not required. They're often used just to signal that the dog's a service animal, but it's not required, and so you shouldn't ask for it. So hotels may not charge extra for service animals. This is an important point. If someone calls up and they want to make a reservation, you cannot charge extra for them having a service animal. If they have an ordinary pet and it's not a service animal, the hotel can charge a pet fee, but you cannot charge extra for a service animal. As mentioned before, a service animal does not need to wear a special vest or harness. They do not need to be certified. There are websites that will provide that certification online, but it's really more of a marketing and revenue uh, type of situation. They're just looking to make a quick buck. Often those websites are not very scrupulous and they'll kind of provide that quote unquote service animal certificate to anyone that pays for it. Um, and even in a restaurant context, service animals are permitted. And so you should know that you need to provide access to someone that's has a service animal. As mentioned, a hotel cannot charge extra for a service animal. Um, that said, the person that's bringing the service animal is responsible for it. So the business owner is not responsible for caring for the service animal or cleaning up after it if it makes a mess. Um, and lastly, these are just some basic limitations on service animals. The first is the fundamental alteration limitation. So if the service animal would create a fundamental change to the nature of the business, then it can be denied. So, for example, a dog that's constantly barking in a movie theater, let's say, or even a hotel context, something that would really prevent the business from providing their services to other customers. That's a scenario where at some point it crosses a line and the business can deny access, even if it's a service animal. Um, the second is when the service animal poses a direct threat to the health and safety of others. So, for example, if the service animal is urinating or defecating inside, that's not something that needs to be tolerated. Service animals do not need to um, be provided access to pools and swimming areas. Inside the pool, that is, they can go around the pool area, but you do not need to allow a service animal inside the pool. Um, Importantly, talk to management before making a decision on this point, if at all possible. This is an area where there's a lot of gray territory, a lot of uncertainty. And so, if you really have to make a decision in the moment, then that's understandable. But if at all possible, talk with management. And they may even wish to reach out to me or an attorney and get a legal opinion on the matter. All right, so this is normally the time when I would take some questions, but we're just recording this for you to watch later, so we'll skip that. Here's the verification code. So write this down. You may be asked to provide this code just to verify that you saw the training today. So the verification code is 15896. 15896. All right, that's about it. Here's my contact information in case you need to reach out if you ever have a question or need some legal counsel in the area of ADA or employment. Reach on out to me and hopefully I can be of help. All right, we'll stop the screen share. Thank you everyone for attending the training. It's been great and good luck.